What if the true foundation of ancient empires wasn't just their military might or brilliant strategies, but something far more mysterious: alchemy? That's right, alchemy. Often dismissed as little more than mystical nonsense or the futile pursuit of turning lead into gold, alchemy may have played a far greater role in shaping the ancient world than we've been led to believe. For centuries, this enigmatic practice straddled the line between science and spirituality, inspiring breakthroughs in chemistry, medicine, and even metallurgy. But its influence didn't stop there. Alchemy was more than a collection of obscure experiments. It was a philosophy, a driving force that some believe helped fuel the rise of powerful civilizations. So, how exactly did this ancient art intertwine with the ambitions of empires like Egypt, China, and Rome, and why has its significance been largely forgotten? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden ways alchemy shaped the foundations of power, technology, and culture in the ancient world, from its contributions to wealth and warfare to its profound impact on knowledge itself. We'll explore why this so-called pseudoscience may hold more historical weight than anyone could have imagined. Stay with us as we dive into the forgotten connection between alchemy and the empires that rewrote history. To understand alchemy's profound influence on ancient empires, we first need to trace its roots back to where it all began: ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. These cradles of civilization not only gave rise to writing, astronomy, and monumental architecture, but also served as fertile ground for the early development of alchemical thought. In its earliest forms, alchemy wasn't merely a precursor to modern chemistry. It was a sacred, almost mystical practice that wove together religion, philosophy, and the practical sciences of the time. For the people of these ancient cultures, alchemy was not just about transforming physical substances. It was about seeking harmony between the material and spiritual worlds. In Egypt, alchemy found a home within the temples, where priests and scholars meticulously studied the properties of minerals, plants, and metals. The term alchemy itself is believed to derive from the ancient Egyptian word chem, referring to the fertile black soil of the Nile Delta, a symbol of transformation and rebirth. It's no coincidence that these early alchemists saw their work as echoing the divine processes of creation and renewal that they observed in nature. For them, turning base metals into gold wasn't simply a quest for wealth. It was a metaphor for spiritual purification and enlightenment, a means of unlocking the secrets of life itself. This concept lives on in the legendary pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone, the symbolic substance said to grant immortality and infinite wisdom. Meanwhile, Mesopotamian cultures also made significant contributions to alchemical practices. Babylonian priests, for example, were some of the earliest pioneers in experimenting with metallurgy and dyes, combining practical expertise with spiritual significance. Metalworking, in particular, was seen as a kind of sacred act, drawing on the belief that metal ores extracted from deep within the earth were imbued with divine energy. By refining these raw materials into something purer, like gold or silver, they believed they were mirroring the gods' creative powers. These early alchemical ideas would eventually spread, influencing neighboring civilizations and sparking the development of more elaborate systems of alchemical thought. What set alchemy apart, though, was its language, one steeped in symbols and metaphors. Alchemical texts often spoke in riddles, describing processes like marrying the sun and moon or finding the elixir of life. This wasn't just poetic flourish. These cryptic descriptions were meant to cloak the knowledge in mystery, accessible only to those deemed worthy of understanding its deeper truths. But more than that, this symbolic language reflected alchemy's role as a bridge between the physical and metaphysical. The transformation of base metals into gold wasn't just a material process, it was a spiritual journey, one that sought to elevate the mundane to the divine. For ancient cultures, alchemy wasn't merely a tool for earthly gain. It was seen as a sacred art deeply tied to their cosmology and worldview. It connected the tangible, like the crafting of precious metals or the preparation of medicinal elixirs, with the intangible, like the pursuit of wisdom and eternal life. This duality gave alchemy a unique position in ancient societies, allowing it to influence not just science but religion, philosophy, and even politics. As we delve deeper into the story of alchemy's impact on ancient empires, keep in mind this dual nature of the practice. It wasn't just about the materials being transformed. It was about the transformation of the practitioners, their societies, and ultimately their civilizations. Ancient Egypt stands as one of the most iconic cradles of alchemical knowledge, where science, spirituality, and the art of transformation came together in extraordinary ways. Long before alchemy became associated with European mystery schools or medieval laboratories, it flourished as a vital part of Egyptian civilization, playing a key role in their advancements in chemistry, medicine, and even the sacred art of mummification. In Egypt, alchemy wasn't just about material experimentation. It was a deeply philosophical practice tied to the cycles of life, death, and rebirth that shaped their worldview. One of the most intriguing figures associated with Egyptian alchemy is Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary figure often regarded as the father of alchemy. Although his true origins remain shrouded in mystery, Hermes Trismegistus is believed to be a syncretic blend of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth, both of whom were associated with wisdom, writing, and the secrets of the universe. Ancient texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, such as the Corpus Hermeticum, provided a foundation for alchemical philosophy that would echo through centuries of thought. Central to this is the Emerald Tablet, a short yet profoundly symbolic text said to contain the ultimate secrets of alchemy. The phrase, "as above, so below," famously linked to the Emerald Tablet, encapsulates the belief that the microcosm, everything on Earth, is a reflection of the macrocosm, or the divine workings of the universe. This concept not only influenced alchemical practices, but also laid the groundwork for later connections between science, spirituality, and natural philosophy. But how did these lofty ideas translate into practical applications? Egyptian alchemists were renowned for their mastery of the elements. Their advanced understanding of chemical processes enabled them to create dyes, perfumes, cosmetics, and medicines that were highly prized across the ancient world. For example, they excelled in the art of metallurgy, refining gold and other metals, not just for wealth but for symbolic reasons tied to eternity and divine power. Gold, seen as the incorruptible metal, perfectly embodied the Egyptian quest for permanence and immortality. This same obsession with eternity can be seen in their mummification techniques, which were themselves a form of alchemical transformation. The elaborate process of preserving the human body, using natural salts, resins, and oils, was deeply rooted in the belief that the physical form could be made eternal, just like the immortal soul. Medicine was another field influenced by Egyptian alchemical thought. The preparation of medicinal potions and elixirs often blended empirical knowledge with spiritual symbolism, reflecting their belief that healing required harmony between the body and the divine. Scholars have even noted parallels between ancient Egyptian medicinal recipes and later alchemical formulas, suggesting that the Egyptians pioneered methods of extracting and combining substances that would inspire future generations of practitioners. Perhaps what's most extraordinary is how these traditions were preserved and passed down through time. After the conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great, the fabled city of Alexandria became a melting pot of knowledge, home to one of the ancient world's greatest libraries. It was here that Egyptian alchemical teachings began to merge with Greek philosophy, laying the foundation for what we now call Hermeticism. Texts like the Emerald Tablet and other writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus were translated and studied by scholars from different cultures, ensuring that Egyptian alchemical traditions lived on long after the fall of the pharaohs. These writings would later travel to Rome and beyond, influencing early Islamic scientists and Renaissance thinkers. In many ways, Egypt's alchemical legacy is a testament to their unique ability to blend the scientific with the sacred. Whether through their chemical innovations, their spiritual philosophies, or their meticulous preservation of knowledge, the Egyptians elevated alchemy into a cornerstone of their civilization. And as these traditions spread across borders and centuries, they became the bedrock for the alchemical practices and philosophies that would shape the ancient empires to come. As alchemy made its way north from Egypt into Greece, it found a new home in the intellectual ferment of ancient Greek philosophy. Greek thinkers, always eager to explore the mysteries of the natural world, embraced and adapted alchemical principles, weaving them into their burgeoning systems of cosmology, metaphysics, and natural science. Alchemy's arrival in Greece didn't just preserve its Egyptian roots, it transformed them. It became a crucial bridge between the mystical traditions of the ancient world and the more systematic approaches to understanding nature that would later define Western science. One of the earliest Greek thinkers to engage with ideas reminiscent of alchemical thought was Pythagoras. Known for his contributions to mathematics and philosophy, Pythagoras also viewed the universe as a harmonious system governed by balance, transformation, and unity concepts that align closely with alchemical principles. He believed that the material world was a reflection of an underlying divine order, and that through understanding patterns like numbers and geometry, one could uncover the secrets of creation itself. In this sense, Pythagoras treated the study of the natural world as both a scientific and spiritual pursuit, much like the Egyptian alchemists before him. Another towering figure in Greek thought, Aristotle, developed ideas that resonate deeply with alchemical principles, even if he didn't practice alchemy directly. Aristotle's theory of the four elements earth, air, fire, and water laid the foundation for how ancient and medieval alchemists understood the composition of matter. According to Aristotle, all substances in the universe were made up of varying combinations of these four fundamental elements, and these substances could be transformed into one another through changes in their elemental balance. This idea of transformation, the ability to change one thing into another, was central to alchemy, and Aristotle's work provided a philosophical framework for later alchemists to build upon. Incorporating the Egyptian alchemical focus on cosmology, Aristotle also expanded on the relationship between the physical and metaphysical. He introduced the idea of a prime matter, a formless substance that underpinned all of reality, awaiting shaping and refinement. For alchemists, this aligned perfectly with their quest to perfect base materials, turning lead into gold not just as a physical process, but as a metaphor for unlocking the purest essence of matter itself. This blending of empirical observation with profound metaphysical questions is part of what made alchemical thought so influential in Greece. It wasn't merely about manipulating substances, it was about understanding the hidden forces that govern the cosmos. Greek philosophers also inherited Egypt's symbolic view of alchemy, incorporating the idea that transformations in the natural world mirrored transformations in the human soul. Plato, for instance, believed that the physical world was a shadow of a higher, more perfect reality. This duality, the material and the ideal, was a recurring theme in Greek alchemical adaptations. Alchemy offered a way to navigate these two realms, suggesting that through refinement and transformation, both matter and spirit could achieve perfection. What's remarkable is how Greek thinkers didn't just absorb Egyptian alchemical ideas, they expanded them. In cities like Alexandria, where Egyptian, Greek, and eventually Roman cultures converged, alchemical texts were translated into Greek, and their symbolic language was reinterpreted through the lens of Greek philosophy. This synthesis of Egyptian wisdom with Greek analytical rigor created a legacy that would endure long after Greece's political power waned. Through trade, conquest, and scholarship, Greek alchemical ideas traveled far beyond the borders of their homeland. As the Roman Empire rose to prominence, it absorbed and preserved Greek philosophical and scientific works, including those that touched on alchemical principles. These ideas would later find their way into the Islamic world, where scholars translated Greek texts into Arabic, further refining and expanding upon them. From there, alchemy re-emerged in medieval Europe, carrying with it layers of influence from Egypt, Greece, and the Islamic Golden Age. In many ways, it was in ancient Greece that alchemy began its transition from a sacred, temple-bound practice to a cornerstone of intellectual inquiry. By marrying Egyptian metaphysics with Greek rationalism, alchemical thought played an essential role in the development of philosophy and early scientific exploration. It inspired generations of thinkers to ask the big questions about the nature of matter, the workings of the universe, and humanity's place in it, all while maintaining its focus on the transformative power of both knowledge and nature. And as these ideas spread far and wide, they left an indelible mark on the civilizations that would follow. The Roman Empire, with its vast reach and insatiable appetite for innovation, became a surprising incubator for alchemical practices. While the Romans are often remembered for their military conquests and engineering marvels, their fascination with the art of transformation, especially as it pertained to wealth, health, and technology, reveals a more mysterious side of their legacy. Alchemy, inherited from the Greeks and Egyptians, found fertile ground in the Roman world, where its principles were adapted for practical and political purposes, leaving an enduring influence that would shape medieval and even modern thought. One of the most significant areas where alchemy left its mark in the Roman Empire was metallurgy. The Romans were master metalworkers, renowned for producing durable weapons, intricate jewelry, and revolutionary architectural materials like concrete reinforced with volcanic ash. But beneath their practical genius lay a deeper curiosity about the nature of metals. Inspired by alchemical principles, Roman metallurgists sought to refine alloys to improve their strength, appearance, and value. For example, the Romans experimented with creating counterfeit gold and silver by manipulating base metals and perfecting plating techniques. While it may seem like mere forgery, these efforts were rooted in alchemical ideas of transformation, turning something ordinary into something extraordinary. Roman coins, in particular, often underwent alchemical treatments to enhance their shine and durability, a reflection of the empire's desire to project an image of wealth and stability. Alchemy also played a role in the vibrant world of Roman dyes and pigments. The empire's cloth and art industries were dependent on rich, vibrant colors, seen as symbols of status and luxury. Roman alchemists experimented with creating synthetic dyes and intensifying the hues of natural ones, a process that melded chemistry with artistry. The famous Tyrian purple, for instance, made from the mucus of sea snails, was one of the most coveted dyes of the time. Though its production predated Roman dominance, the empire elevated the craft, seeking ways to preserve and replicate the dye's intense color. The techniques developed for enhancing dyes were often shrouded in secrecy, much like the cryptic language of alchemical texts, which added mystique to their trade. Beyond materials and aesthetics, alchemy's influence extended into Roman medicine. Roman physicians, drawing from Greek and Egyptian knowledge, incorporated alchemical principles into their practice of preparing medicinal elixirs. Remedies were designed not only to heal physical ailments but also to balance the body's humors, a concept tied to the elemental theories of alchemy. Preparations often involved complex distillations and the blending of herbs, minerals, and metals, which were believed to possess transformative powers. One notable example is the Roman use of mercury-based compounds, which, despite their toxicity, were thought to have miraculous curative properties. These early experiments with chemical substances laid the groundwork for pharmacology, showcasing how alchemical practices straddled the line between science and mysticism. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Roman alchemy lies in its connection to power. Roman rulers, always in pursuit of wealth and immortality, turned to alchemical knowledge as a means of securing their dominance. There are anecdotes of emperors commissioning alchemists to unravel the secrets of the philosopher's stone or to produce elixirs of eternal life. While these tales often veer into legend, they reflect the broader Roman fascination with alchemy as a potential pathway to divine authority. Alchemy's promise of transformation aligned perfectly with the Roman desire to conquer not just the physical world, but also the mysteries of existence itself. What makes the Roman contribution to alchemy particularly significant is how they acted as a conduit for spreading its principles beyond their borders. Through trade routes, military campaigns, and cultural exchanges, the Romans helped disseminate alchemical knowledge throughout Europe and into the Middle East. This diffusion ensured that the alchemical traditions of Egypt and Greece would not only survive but also evolve in new and unexpected ways. As the Roman Empire began to decline, its alchemical legacy took root in Byzantine and Islamic cultures, where it would be further expanded upon before returning to Europe during the Middle Ages. In many ways, the Roman Empire served as a bridge between the ancient world and the alchemical traditions that would flourish centuries later. Through their practical applications in metallurgy, medicine, and engineering, the Romans showcased alchemy's potential to transform society. And though they may not have unlocked the philosopher's stone or the elixir of life, their experiments laid the foundation for the alchemical renaissance that would shape the course of history. Roman alchemy wasn't just about materials, it was about ambition, progress, and the eternal quest to master the mysteries of the natural world. As the Persian Empire rose to power, it became a crossroads of culture, philosophy, and science, creating the perfect environment for alchemy to flourish. Unlike other civilizations that approached alchemy as either a mystical art or practical science, Persia embraced it as both. The empire's strategic position at the heart of trade routes connecting Greece, Egypt, India, and beyond allowed it to absorb and synthesize diverse streams of knowledge, blending them into a uniquely Persian interpretation of alchemy. This synthesis not only advanced alchemical practices, but also laid the groundwork for the vibrant intellectual tradition that would later emerge during the Islamic Golden Age. One of the most intriguing aspects of alchemy in the Persian Empire was its deep connection to Zoroastrianism, the dominant religion of the time. Zoroastrian priests or magi played a significant role in shaping Persian alchemical thought. Central to Zoroastrian philosophy was the concept of dualism, the eternal struggle between Ahura Mazda, the god of light and wisdom, and Angra Mainyu, the destructive force of chaos and ignorance. This dualistic worldview naturally influenced Persian alchemy, which often framed the transformation of matter as a kind of cosmic battle between opposing forces. The purification of base metals into gold, for example, wasn't just a physical process. It symbolized the triumph of order over disorder, light over darkness, and purity over corruption. Zoroastrian priests also believed in the sacredness of elements like fire and water, viewing them as divine manifestations of Ahura Mazda's creation. This reverence for the natural world shaped Persian approaches to alchemy, encouraging practitioners to study the elements not just for their material properties but for their spiritual significance as well. Fire, in particular, became a central symbol in Persian alchemy, representing the transformative energy that could refine both matter and the soul. The Magi's rituals often involved the careful manipulation of substances through fire, paralleling the alchemical processes of calcination and purification that later became central to Western alchemy. The Persian Empire also played a pivotal role in preserving and expanding the alchemical knowledge it inherited from earlier civilizations. Persian scholars translated key alchemical texts from Greek, Egyptian, and Indian sources into Middle Persian, ensuring that these works were not only preserved but also adapted to fit their own intellectual and spiritual frameworks. For example, Greek alchemical theories, such as Aristotle's concept of the four elements, were integrated with Zoroastrian ideas about the sacredness of natural forces. Similarly, Indian influences, particularly from early Ayurvedic medicine and metallurgical practices, enriched Persian alchemical traditions with new techniques and philosophies. One Persian figure of particular importance to alchemy was Openness, a legendary magus who was said to have traveled widely, spreading the secrets of alchemy wherever he went. Though shrouded in myth, Openness' name became synonymous with esoteric knowledge and the transmission of alchemical wisdom from Persia to other parts of the ancient world. His influence is evident in later Greco-Roman and Islamic alchemical writings, which often credit him as one of the founding figures of the art. The intellectual environment of the Persian Empire further fostered the advancement of alchemy. With institutions such as the Academy of Gondishapur, a renowned center of learning, scholars from across the empire gathered to exchange ideas and collaborate on scientific and philosophical endeavors. Alchemy, situated at the intersection of these disciplines, thrived in this setting. The Academy's emphasis on translating and synthesizing knowledge from various cultures ensured that Persian alchemical practices continued to evolve, incorporating innovations from both East and West. Perhaps one of Persia's most lasting contributions to alchemy was its role as a bridge, connecting the ancient traditions of Egypt, Greece, and India with the emerging intellectual movements of the Islamic world. When the Islamic caliphates began their own pursuit of knowledge, they inherited a rich corpus of Persian alchemical texts, which they translated into Arabic and further refined. Through this process, Persian alchemy became a cornerstone of the Islamic scientific tradition, influencing figures like Jabir ibn Hayyan, often called the father of chemistry. In the Persian Empire, alchemy wasn't just a practice, it was a philosophy, a reflection of the empire's broader commitment to understanding and harmonizing the natural world. By integrating the wisdom of multiple civilizations and grounding it in their own spiritual traditions, the Persians elevated alchemy into an art of transformation that extended beyond the material, touching the core of human existence. Their legacy reminds us that alchemy wasn't just about the pursuit of gold. It was about seeking balance, purity, and the ultimate unity of opposites. Alchemy in ancient India, known as Rasayana, took on a uniquely transformative and holistic role, blending seamlessly with the region's spiritual and medicinal traditions. Unlike the Western focus on manipulating metals to create gold, Indian alchemy was deeply rooted in the quest for both physical rejuvenation and spiritual enlightenment. This dual focus made Rasayana an integral part of the Indian empires, influencing everything from medicine and metallurgy to philosophy and religion. At the heart of Indian alchemical thought was the belief that the human body, much like metals, could be refined and perfected. Rasayana practitioners viewed the body as a microcosm of the universe, capable of undergoing a process of internal transformation to achieve vitality, longevity, and even transcendence. This principle aligned closely with Ayurveda, the ancient Indian system of medicine. While Ayurveda focused on maintaining balance within the body through diet, herbs, and lifestyle, Rasayana complemented it by emphasizing the enhancement and preservation of life through alchemical preparations. These preparations often included purified mercury, gold, and other metals, which were believed to have transformative properties when properly processed. Mercury, in particular, held a central place in Indian alchemy. Known as Rasa, it was revered for its ability to bring about physical longevity and spiritual communion. Unlike raw mercury, which is toxic, Rasayana alchemists devised elaborate purification techniques to detoxify the substance and transform it into a potent elixir. These techniques were documented in ancient texts like the Rasa Ratna Samakaya, which detailed precise methods for refining and combining substances. The ultimate goal of these preparations was to create a potent substance known as Siddha Rasa, or divine mercury, believed to grant physical invincibility and spiritual liberation. This pursuit of an immortal, divine state was not seen as purely materialistic, but was instead tied to a broader philosophical framework of achieving harmony between the body, mind, and soul. Gold was another substance of great importance in Indian alchemy. Like mercury, gold was considered a symbol of purity and vitality, representing enlightenment on both a physical and spiritual level. Rasayana practitioners believed that consuming finely powdered or dissolved gold could invigorate the body, enhance mental clarity, and even prevent aging. These ideas were not purely abstract. Indian alchemists worked with sophisticated metallurgical techniques, some of which were centuries ahead of their time. Evidence suggests that Indian methods for processing gold and other metals were highly advanced, contributing to the wealth and technological prowess of Indian empires like the Guptas and Mauryas. What truly set Indian alchemy apart from its Western counterparts was its emphasis on the spiritual dimension. In Rasayana, the act of transforming substances was seen as a reflection of the alchemist's inner transformation. Achieving mastery over the material world through alchemy was a step toward mastering the self and attaining moksha, or liberation from the cycle of rebirth. This spiritual aspect of Indian alchemy was deeply influenced by the principles of Hinduism, Buddhism, and later Jainism, which all emphasized the importance of purification and enlightenment. The influence of Indian alchemical traditions did not stop at the borders of the subcontinent. Through trade and cultural exchanges, Rasayana principles spread to neighboring regions, leaving an indelible mark on other traditions. For instance, Indian texts and practices influenced Tibetan Buddhist alchemy, where Rasayana techniques were integrated into spiritual practices aimed at achieving enlightenment. Similarly, Indian alchemical ideas found their way into the Islamic world, where scholars translated Rasayana texts into Arabic and adopted concepts related to the medicinal use of mercury and metals. This exchange created a bridge between Indian and Islamic alchemical traditions, further enriching both systems of thought. Indian alchemy's emphasis on physical and spiritual perfection offers a striking contrast to the Western quest for material wealth through the philosopher's stone. However, the underlying goal, a transformation that transcends the ordinary, unites these traditions. By viewing alchemical practices as both a means of enhancing life and a path to spiritual liberation, Rasayana became a cornerstone of Indian science, medicine, and philosophy. This intricate fusion of material and metaphysical insights not only defined Indian alchemy, but also ensured its influence endured far beyond its origin, shaping the spiritual and scientific landscapes of other cultures for centuries to come. In ancient China, alchemy took on a distinctly spiritual and practical dimension, driven by one of the most captivating pursuits in history, the quest for immortality. Unlike the gold-centric focus of Western alchemy, Chinese alchemy was deeply intertwined with Taoist philosophy, which emphasized harmony with nature and the universe. At its core, Chinese alchemy sought not just the transformation of materials, but the ultimate refinement of life itself. Through intricate chemical processes and herbal remedies, practitioners aimed to create the legendary elixirs of immortality, substances that promised eternal life or, at the very least, prolonged health and vitality. This obsession with transcending mortality shaped not only Chinese alchemical traditions, but also advancements in fields like medicine, metallurgy, and even early weaponry. One of the most famous figures in Chinese alchemy was Ji Hong, a 4th century scholar and Taoist adept, whose writings offer a glimpse into the ambitions and methodologies of ancient Chinese alchemists. In his influential work *Bayapuzi*, or *The Master Who Embraces Simplicity*, Ji Hong detailed a variety of alchemical techniques, from concocting life-extending elixirs to refining precious metals. According to Ji Hong, the perfection of substances through fire and transformation mirrored the spiritual journey toward attaining enlightenment and harmony with the Tao, the natural order of the universe. For Ji and his contemporaries, the physical act of creating an elixir was inseparable from the spiritual purification of the alchemist. This alignment of practice and philosophy set Chinese alchemy apart, embedding it deeply within the fabric of spiritual life. A hallmark of Chinese alchemy was the meticulous experimentation with herbs, minerals, and metals to craft these so-called elixirs of life. Alchemists utilized ingredients such as cinnabar, a bright red mineral form of mercury sulfide believed to contain potent life-giving properties. Through a process of heating, cooling, and combining elements, they sought to unlock the transformative energy within substances. However, while some of these experiments led to medicinal breakthroughs, others had dangerous consequences. The toxic properties of mercury and other substances were frequently misunderstood, and historical accounts tell of emperors and nobles who perished as a result of consuming improperly prepared elixirs. Yet, these risks did little to diminish the allure of immortality, and the search for the perfect elixir remained a central focus for centuries. But Chinese alchemy wasn't only about mythical potions. Its practical applications extended far beyond the realm of eternal life. For instance, the alchemical manipulation of metals advanced China's metallurgical techniques, leading to the creation of stronger alloys and refined methods for working with materials like bronze and iron. These innovations supported everything from agriculture to architecture and weaponry, elevating China's technological prowess. Additionally, alchemical experiments unintentionally laid the groundwork for one of history's most transformative discoveries, gunpowder. While Chinese alchemists initially sought out mixtures for elixirs or medicinal compounds, their experiments with saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal eventually led to the explosive substance that revolutionized warfare and shaped global history. The philosophical underpinnings of Chinese alchemy also set it apart. Rooted in Taoism, alchemy was seen as a path to understanding and aligning with the natural rhythms of the cosmos. Central to this worldview was the concept of yin and yang, the interplay of opposing yet complementary forces, and the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Alchemists believed that by balancing these energies within their experiments, they could mirror the balance of the universe itself. This holistic approach extended to their work with the human body, where the goal wasn't just to cure illness but to harmonize the body's internal energies, much like balancing the elements in an alchemical process. When compared to the alchemical traditions of Egypt, India, and the West, Chinese alchemy shares fascinating parallels yet diverges in significant ways. Like the Egyptians and Indians, the Chinese viewed alchemy as a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds. However, while Western alchemy often prioritized the transmutation of metals, Chinese alchemy placed greater emphasis on the transformation of the self, both physically and spiritually. The Chinese pursuit of internal alchemy, which involved meditative and breathing practices aimed at cultivating life energy, or *Chi*, exemplifies this difference. Instead of focusing solely on external substances, internal alchemy sought to refine the practitioner's inner essence, offering another path toward immortality. Ultimately, Chinese alchemy represents a unique fusion of science, spirituality, and practicality. It fueled advancements in medicine, metallurgy, and chemistry while reflecting a deeply philosophical approach to life and existence. Even as some of its mystical pursuits gave way to more empirical sciences over time, the contributions and ambitions of Chinese alchemy remain a testament to humanity's enduring desire to transcend its limits and unlock the secrets of both the natural and spiritual worlds. Alchemy, with its promises of transformation and discovery, didn't remain confined within the borders of individual empires. Instead, it flourished as a result of one of history's most dynamic engines for cultural exchange, the trade routes. Chief among these was the Silk Road, an expansive network of trade routes connecting the East and West. While it's often associated with the exchange of goods like silk, spices, and precious metals, the Silk Road also carried something less tangible but equally valuable ideas. Alchemical knowledge passed between merchants, scholars, and travelers became a key part of this intellectual flow, evolving as it moved across continents. Imagine an alchemist in China preparing an elixir using mercury and cinnabar. These same materials might find their way to Persia, where Zoroastrian alchemists explored similar transformative processes, only to later influence Greek thinkers experimenting with metals. The Silk Road was not merely a highway for commodities, but a crossroads where philosophical and scientific traditions collided, blended, and grew. Chinese alchemical texts, for example, traveled westward, influencing Persian and later Arab alchemists, while Greek alchemical documents made their way east, leaving an indelible mark on Indian and Chinese practices. This cross-cultural pollination ensured that alchemy was never static. It was constantly evolving, shaped by the perspectives and traditions of the civilizations it touched. Key to the spread of alchemical knowledge was the role of merchants and scholars who acted as intermediaries in this vast exchange. Merchants didn't just carry silk and spices, they carried ideas. Alongside their goods, they transported rare minerals, books, and even the expertise of alchemical practices. For instance, materials like cinnabar, sulfur, and saltpeter were in high demand across multiple civilizations for their use in alchemical experiments. A trader carrying these substances might also carry with them the instructions for their use, learned from the alchemists they encountered during their journeys. In this way, merchants became unlikely custodians of scientific and mystical traditions, spreading alchemical techniques and materials across vast distances. Equally important were the scholars who translated and preserved alchemical texts. When the Greco-Roman world came into contact with Persia during the height of the Sasanian Empire, a wave of Greek alchemical manuscripts was translated into Middle Persian. Later, as the Islamic caliphates emerged, these Persian texts, along with original Greek sources, were translated anew into Arabic. This translation movement, centered in cities like Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age, brought Greek, Persian, and Indian alchemical ideas together, creating a unified body of knowledge that further refined alchemical practices. One of the most influential figures in this tradition was Jabir ibn Hayyan, often called the father of chemistry. Drawing from earlier traditions, his works synthesized Greek, Persian, and Indian alchemical techniques into something uniquely his own, laying the groundwork for modern scientific methods. The materials themselves also tell a story of exchange. Consider the global journey of mercury, a substance prized by Chinese, Indian, and European alchemists alike. Extracted in regions like Spain and China, mercury became a common thread in alchemical experiments across the ancient world. Likewise, the spread of saltpeter, a key ingredient in both alchemy and the eventual invention of gunpowder, illustrates how trade routes facilitated not just the sharing of ideas, but also the physical tools needed to put them into practice. This global exchange wasn't limited to the physical or the philosophical, it also introduced new symbolic languages into alchemy. For instance, Chinese Taoist alchemical concepts of yin and yang and the balance of elements influenced the metaphysical discussions of Persian and later European alchemy. Meanwhile, the Greek idea of the four elements earth, air, fire, and water traveled east and found resonance in Indian and Chinese systems of thought. These shared symbols and frameworks created a universal language of transformation, making alchemy a truly global tradition by the time of the medieval period. By the end of the ancient world and the dawn of the medieval era, the alchemical traditions sparked by this cross-cultural exchange began to take root in Europe. Texts translated from Arabic into Latin, such as those of Jabir ibn Hayyan and Avicenna, introduced a new wave of scholars to alchemical practices. European alchemists of the Middle Ages and later the Renaissance would draw heavily from these earlier traditions, building on the foundations laid by centuries of exchange along the trade routes. The Silk Road and other trade networks didn't just connect distant lands, they connected minds. The movement of alchemical materials, texts, and practices across these routes ensured the survival and evolution of alchemy as a field of inquiry. It was this global dialogue that laid the groundwork for the alchemical explosion of the medieval and Renaissance periods, proving that while alchemy may have sought the secrets of transformation, it was itself transformed with every new culture it touched. Throughout history, the tantalizing promise of alchemy to turn base metals into gold, to unlock the secrets of eternal life, to master the forces of nature made it an irresistible prospect for rulers and empires. Yet the potential power of alchemy also made it a subject of immense anxiety. What if this knowledge fell into the wrong hands? What if rivals used these secrets to amass wealth, engineer new weapons, or gain untold leverage? For these reasons, many empires treated alchemy as more than a scientific or spiritual endeavor. It was a state secret, carefully controlled and often cloaked in layers of mystery. This tension between alchemy as a shared intellectual pursuit and its use as a tool of statecraft transformed its role in history, shaping not only how it was practiced but also how it was perceived in centuries to come. One of the most striking examples of this secrecy comes from ancient China, where alchemy was deeply entwined with imperial power. Chinese emperors, obsessed with the idea of immortality, often employed alchemists in carefully guarded laboratories, tasking them with crafting the elusive elixir of life. These imperial alchemists operated in secrecy, their experiments funded lavishly but kept hidden from the wider public. The stakes were high. Empires rising and falling depended not only on military strength but also on the health and longevity of their rulers. For example, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of a unified China, famously sought immortality through alchemical means. He reportedly consumed mercury-laced elixirs prepared by court alchemists, ironically leading to his untimely death. Despite their failure to deliver eternal life, these experiments demonstrated how alchemy could become a tightly controlled imperial obsession, kept out of reach for ordinary citizens for fear of its unpredictable power. Similarly, in the Islamic Golden Age, alchemy was not merely a scholarly pursuit but also a matter of strategic secrecy. While scholars such as Jabir ibn Hayyan published groundbreaking works on alchemical theories, it's believed that certain aspects of their research were withheld or encoded to prevent misuse. The detailed processes for creating substances like acids and refined metals held immense potential for use in weaponry, metallurgy, and even economics. Islamic rulers recognized this and often supported alchemists while maintaining strict oversight of their work. These rulers understood that controlling alchemy meant controlling knowledge that could tip the balance of power, whether through innovations in technology or the creation of new resources. In Europe, the story was no different. During the Renaissance, monarchs and noble families retained alchemists to work in secretive laboratories, often in the basements of castles or hidden within royal palaces. One prominent example was the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II, a fervent supporter of the occult sciences. Rudolf transformed his court in Prague into a hub for alchemical research, inviting scholars from across Europe to conduct experiments. However, much of this work was shrouded in secrecy, and alchemists were often sworn to confidentiality under penalty of imprisonment or worse. Rudolf's patronage of alchemy wasn't just about intellectual curiosity. It was a calculated effort to strengthen his empire through supernatural means, whether that meant turning lead into gold to fill his treasury or unlocking new technologies. This secrecy was not without consequences. By keeping alchemical knowledge confined to elite circles and state-controlled laboratories, rulers fueled the perception that alchemy was something arcane, mystical, and even dangerous. The cryptic language used by alchemists, often intended to obscure their methods for intellectual or spiritual reasons, took on an additional layer of intrigue when paired with state secrecy. To the public, alchemy became less a legitimate scientific pursuit and more a shadowy, almost magical practice, accessible only to those in power or deeply connected to esoteric circles. This tightly controlled environment also created tension within the alchemical community itself. Some alchemists believed that alchemy's secrets should be shared openly as a path to enlightenment and progress, while others saw their work as sacred knowledge that required safeguarding from misuse. This tension between openness and secrecy shaped not only how alchemy was practiced, but also how it was remembered in later periods. By the time alchemy's influence began to wane during the scientific revolution, its association with secrecy and state control contributed to its marginalization. It was no longer seen as a credible science, but rather as a relic of mysticism and occultism, casting a long shadow over its role in the development of modern chemistry and science. The legacy of alchemy's secretive past lingers even today. Its stories of hidden experiments, guarded laboratories, and enigmatic texts continue to capture the imagination, reminding us of a time when knowledge wasn't just a tool for understanding the world. It was also a source of power to be carefully guarded and controlled. This secrecy may have helped empires maintain dominance, but it also transformed alchemy into one of history's most enduring mysteries. Alchemy's contribution to ancient medicine was nothing short of transformative, creating a profound link between early chemistry, spirituality, and the healing arts. Far from being confined to the mystical pursuit of transmuting metals or crafting elixirs of immortality, alchemy played a crucial role in shaping the development of pharmaceuticals and medical practices in ancient civilizations. Across cultures, alchemy's focus on the transformation and purification of substances was applied to the human body, with practitioners seeking remedies that could balance health, cure disease, and promote longevity. This blending of science and spirituality profoundly influenced medical theory and practice, leaving a legacy that can still be traced in modern healthcare. One of alchemy's most significant contributions was its role in the creation of early medicinal compounds. Alchemists were among the first to experiment with the extraction, distillation, and preparation of substances from minerals, plants, and animal products for therapeutic use. They often believed that the same processes used to refine metals and create pure substances could be applied to the human body, purging impurities and restoring balance. Mercury, sulfur, and salt, referred to by some alchemists as the three primes, were central to many alchemical remedies. These substances were thought to correspond to specific aspects of the human body and spirit. For example, mercury symbolized fluidity and transformation, sulfur represented vitality, and salt embodied stability and preservation. While some of these substances were toxic when used improperly, they laid the groundwork for developing more sophisticated pharmacological methods. The parallels between alchemical theories of balance and the humoral theory of medicine are particularly striking. The humoral theory, outlined by ancient Greek physicians like Hippocrates and Galen, proposed that health was maintained by balancing four bodily fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Alchemists, too, sought balance not only within their experiments but also within the human body. They viewed disease as a disruption of this internal harmony, which could be restored through the careful preparation and administration of alchemical remedies. For instance, a concoction designed to purify the body might include distilled herbal extracts or mineral powders, mirroring the humoral practice of using opposites to treat imbalances. An excess of heat thought to cause fevers might be treated with a cooling alchemical preparation, much like how humoral physicians would prescribe cooling foods or medicines. Alchemy's influence on surgical techniques was more indirect but equally significant. The preparation of antiseptics, balms, and anesthetics often relied on alchemical processes such as distillation and blending. Alchemists experimented with extracting potent chemicals from plants like opium or developing alcohol-based tinctures, which were used to clean wounds or dull pain during surgery. Their experiments with heating and refining metals also contributed to the development of surgical tools, as alchemical techniques for purifying and shaping metals led to sharper, more precise instruments. While ancient surgical practices were far from the standards of modern medicine, the combination of better tools and rudimentary anesthetics represented a significant advancement in medical care. Despite its successes, alchemy's foray into medicine wasn't without its limitations. Many alchemical remedies were based on symbolic or mystical associations rather than rigorous empirical testing, leading to inconsistent results. The reliance on toxic substances like mercury and lead, often believed to hold transformative powers, sometimes caused more harm than good. Furthermore, the secrecy surrounding alchemical practices often made it difficult to share and standardize effective treatments. However, these limitations shouldn't overshadow the broader cultural and scientific impact of alchemy on medicine. Through their trial and error approach, alchemists accumulated a wealth of practical knowledge about the properties of substances, laying the foundation for the modern sciences of chemistry and pharmacology. Beyond its technical contributions, alchemy's influence extended to the way societies viewed healing and the human condition. By framing health as a balance to be maintained and viewing the body as a vessel capable of refinement and transformation, alchemy introduced a holistic perspective that bridged the material and the metaphysical. This approach resonated across cultures, shaping medical traditions in Europe, India, China, and the Islamic world. It elevated the role of healers, who were not just seen as practical doctors, but as seekers of deeper truths about the nature of life and the universe. In the end, alchemy's impact on ancient medicine went far beyond the remedies it created. It inspired a deeper curiosity about the workings of the human body and its connection to the world. By uniting science, philosophy, and spirituality, alchemists set the stage for centuries of medical innovation, proving that the quest for transformation isn't limited to gold. It is a journey toward understanding and improving life itself. Alchemy was never just about the physical transformation of matter. It was, at its core, an exploration of the soul's journey toward perfection. Across ancient empires, alchemy operated as a deeply spiritual discipline, tied to the belief that as base metals could be purified and transmuted into gold, so too could the human spirit undergo refinement and ascend to higher states of being. This concept of spiritual alchemy transcended cultural boundaries, playing a significant role in shaping religious practices, personal rituals, and broader cultural philosophies. In many ancient traditions, alchemy was seen as a bridge between the physical and metaphysical worlds, an endeavor that unified the material and the divine. For example, in ancient Egypt, alchemy was not only a practical science but a sacred art practiced by temple priests. Their work with materials, whether in crafting gold, preparing embalming substances for mummies, or creating medicine, was deeply intertwined with their spiritual beliefs. The transformation of materials mimicked the cycles of death and rebirth central to Egyptian religion, symbolizing the journey of the soul through the afterlife. The alchemist's laboratory was not just a workspace but a sacred space where earthly and cosmic forces converged. This spiritual dimension of alchemy also found resonance in Taoism, particularly in ancient China, where the practice of internal alchemy, or ***, paralleled external alchemical pursuits. While external alchemy focused on creating elixirs of immortality, internal alchemy aimed to cultivate the life force, or ***chi**, within the body. Taoist alchemists believed that through meditation, breath control, and energy refinement, individuals could harmonize their inner energies and achieve spiritual immortality. These practices were deeply symbolic, representing the refinement of the soul and the alignment with the Tao, the ultimate source and flow of the universe. In this way, spiritual alchemy became a personal discipline, fostering not just physical health but a deep connection to the cosmos itself. In Greek and later Hermetic traditions, alchemy was closely tied to mysticism and esoteric thought. The Emerald Tablet, a foundational text of Hermetic philosophy, encapsulates this spiritual aspect with its famous phrase, "as above, so below." This principle that the microcosm of the individual mirrors the macrocosm of the universe was central to the spiritual alchemist's belief system. Alchemists viewed their work as a form of divine mimicry, mirroring the creative acts of nature and the gods. The quest for the philosopher's stone, often associated with the transmutation of metals, was also deeply symbolic, representing the attainment of divine wisdom, immortality, and spiritual enlightenment. For these practitioners, the transformation of base metals into gold was less important than the transformation of their own consciousness. Spiritual alchemy also influenced the cultural and societal rituals of ancient empires. In India, Rasayana practices were not only medicinal but spiritual, often integrated into Hindu and Buddhist rituals aimed at achieving higher states of awareness or liberation, or ***moksha***. Alchemical preparations were infused with prayers and mantras, making their creation a sacred act. Similarly, in Zoroastrian Persia, the refinement of metals was seen as symbolic of cosmic purification, reflecting the ongoing battle between order and chaos central to their religion. These cultural rituals reinforced alchemy's dual role as both a physical and spiritual discipline, tying individual practices to the broader metaphysical beliefs of the society. What made spiritual alchemy so enduring was its universal appeal. The transformation it sought wasn't just about refining materials, it was about refining the self. It offered an allegory for personal growth. Just as raw materials undergo stages of purification to reach their highest potential, so too must individuals confront and refine their imperfections to achieve spiritual clarity. In many ways, this philosophy extended beyond the individual, influencing societies as a whole. For ancient empires, the ideals of harmony, balance, and transformation found in alchemy mirrored their aspirations for governance and cultural progression. As alchemical traditions spread through trade, conquests, and cultural exchanges, their spiritual dimensions left an indelible mark on philosophy and mysticism. The fusion of Egyptian, Greek, Persian, Indian, and Chinese alchemical traditions contributed to a shared language of transformation that would inspire later thinkers. Even as the practical aspects of alchemy evolved into modern chemistry, its spiritual principles endured, influencing movements like Renaissance Hermeticism, Enlightenment-era humanism, and even contemporary self-improvement philosophies. Alchemy's spiritual legacy is a reminder that transformation is not merely physical, it is deeply personal and universal. The ancient alchemists understood that their work, whether with metals, elements, or the self, reflected a profound truth. The journey to perfection, whether for a material or a soul, is the ultimate act of creation and connection. This enduring philosophy continues to inspire, reminding us of the timeless human drive to refine, transform, and transcend. As the ancient empires that nurtured alchemy began to crumble under the weight of political upheavals, shifting economies, and transformative scientific paradigms, alchemy itself found its dominance waning. Once celebrated as a discipline that bridged the physical and spiritual realms, alchemy began to fall out of favor, its practical applications overshadowed by the dawn of new intellectual movements. But this decline was far from the end of alchemy's story. Instead, it marked the beginning of its transformation into a more secretive and mystical tradition that would influence medieval and Renaissance thought while leaving behind an enduring legacy. One of the key reasons for alchemy's decline in ancient empires was the rise of more systematized scientific approaches. In places like Greece and later the Roman Empire, the philosophical methods of inquiry championed by figures like Aristotle began to take precedence over the symbolic and often cryptic principles of alchemy. As empirical observation gained traction, particularly in fields like astronomy, medicine, and natural philosophy, many began to view alchemy with skepticism. Its reliance on metaphor and symbolic language, while deeply inspiring, made it seem less rigorous compared to emerging scientific methodologies. For example, while alchemy contributed to early understandings of chemistry, its mystical elements increasingly clashed with the rationalism that would later dominate intellectual inquiry. Political instability also played a role in alchemy's decline. As empires like Rome and Persia fell, the infrastructure that supported intellectual pursuits crumbled along with them. Libraries, temples, and centers of learning where alchemical texts and experiments were often safeguarded were lost to invasions and internal collapse. For instance, the fall of the Library of Alexandria, one of the ancient world's greatest repositories of knowledge, likely destroyed countless alchemical manuscripts, severing a link to centuries of accumulated wisdom. Without the support of organized institutions and patronage from emperors or rulers, alchemy became increasingly fragmented, relegated to smaller, secretive circles of practitioners. But even in decline, alchemy found ways to endure. Much of its knowledge was preserved through written texts, many of which were painstakingly copied and passed down through generations. The works of figures like Hermes Trismegistus, Zosimos of Panopolis, and Ji Hong became cornerstones of alchemical tradition, surviving the fall of the empires in which they had flourished. These texts, often encoded in symbolic language, ensured that alchemical knowledge remained accessible but hidden, safeguarding it from the scrutiny of those who might dismiss or misuse it. Oral traditions also played a crucial role in preserving alchemy. In the absence of written records, alchemical practices and philosophies were transmitted directly from master to apprentice, creating a lineage of practitioners that spanned centuries. These secretive networks often operated on the fringes of society, ensuring that alchemy remained alive even as it faded from the limelight. This secrecy would later give rise to associations with esoteric societies, such as the Hermetic Order or the Rosicrucians, which saw alchemy as a path to spiritual enlightenment as much as a practical science. The decline of ancient empires, while devastating, also paved the way for alchemy's transformation. As the Islamic caliphates rose to power, they became the new custodians of ancient knowledge, translating Greek, Persian, Indian, and Chinese alchemical texts into Arabic. This period of preservation and synthesis during the Islamic Golden Age ensured that alchemy not only survived but evolved. Islamic alchemists like Jabir ibn Hayyan and al-Razi built upon the foundations laid by their ancient predecessors, refining alchemical processes and introducing concepts that would later influence European thought. When these texts were eventually translated into Latin during the 12th and 13th centuries, they reignited interest in alchemy in Europe, sparking a renaissance of alchemical practice. In medieval Europe, alchemy became synonymous with the quest for the philosopher's stone and the pursuit of eternal life, blending the mystical traditions of the ancient world with emerging Christian theological thought. By the Renaissance, alchemy was embraced by figures such as Paracelsus, who sought to integrate it with medicine, and Sir Isaac Newton, who explored its symbolic and metaphysical implications even as he advanced the scientific revolution. Though alchemy itself never regained the prominence it held in ancient empires, its principles and methods laid the groundwork for the fields of chemistry, pharmacology, and metallurgy, proving its enduring impact. In the modern era, rediscovering the historical significance of alchemy has revealed it to be far more than an archaic pseudoscience. It was a vital part of humanity's intellectual evolution, a discipline that dared to bridge material experimentation with philosophical inquiry. Alchemy's decline in ancient empires was not a death but a transformation, ensuring that its influence would persist, quietly guiding the course of human knowledge and imagination for centuries to come. This realization reminds us that alchemy's true legacy lies not just in its contributions to science, but in its enduring vision of transformation, both of the physical world and the human spirit. Today, alchemy is no longer dismissed as the mystical ramblings of ancient dreamers. Instead, historians, archaeologists, and scientists are taking a fresh look at this enigmatic practice, reevaluating its role in shaping ancient civilizations. Ancient alchemy, once viewed as an impractical pursuit of immortality or gold, is now recognized as a precursor to modern scientific disciplines like chemistry, metallurgy, and pharmacology. But even beyond its practical applications, alchemy is being acknowledged for its symbolic and cultural significance, offering profound insights into the ancient human quest for transformation and understanding. One of the most exciting developments in this reevaluation has been the rediscovery and analysis of ancient alchemical texts and artifacts. In recent decades, scholars have uncovered and translated texts that had long been lost to history. For instance, the Egyptian Papyrus X, believed to date back to the 3rd century, provides detailed recipes for dye making and metal refinement. These aren't just technical instructions, they reveal a sophisticated understanding of chemical processes that rivals early modern scientific experiments. Similarly, the rediscovery of the Emerald Tablet, a cornerstone of Hermetic alchemical philosophy, has reignited debates about its symbolic and practical meanings, offering a portal into the philosophical mindset of ancient alchemists. Equally fascinating are the physical artifacts that provide evidence of ancient alchemical practices. Archaeological digs in regions such as China, India, and the Middle East have unearthed tools, furnaces, and remnants of alchemical experiments. For instance, in the ruins of Alexandria, researchers have identified what appear to be ancient laboratories where alchemists may have conducted experiments with metals and pigments. In China, remnants of early porcelain kilns show the influence of alchemical techniques in refining materials, demonstrating how alchemy's principles extended far beyond the mystical into the tangible world of craftsmanship. What's particularly noteworthy is how modern science has begun to uncover parallels between ancient alchemical principles and modern discoveries. For example, the ancient alchemical notion that all matter can be transformed resonates surprisingly well with modern atomic theory, which reveals that all matter is made up of the same fundamental building blocks, atoms capable of rearrangement under the right conditions. Similarly, the alchemical pursuit of purification and the separation of elements anticipated the principles of chemical distillation and refinement that are core to modern chemistry. Even their metaphysical ideas about balance and harmony find echoes in systems thinking and modern physics, such as the interconnectedness of forces in quantum mechanics or the balanced laws of thermodynamics. Perhaps one of the most striking parallels is the alchemical symbolic notion of turning lead into gold. While this phrase was often interpreted literally, many now view it as a metaphor for achieving transformation, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual. What's fascinating is that modern particle accelerators have demonstrated that changing one element into another is indeed possible, though not practical on an industrial scale. This modern capability, while vastly different in scope and purpose, draws an uncanny connection to the ancient alchemists' intuitive grasp of matter's malleability. Scientific curiosity aside, alchemy also holds a mirror to the values and aspirations of ancient societies. It reveals a culture that refused to separate science from spirituality, viewing the material and metaphysical as interconnected. Alchemy was not merely about manipulating substances, it was about understanding the universe, humanity's place within it, and the potential for growth and enlightenment. In today's fragmented world where science and spirituality often seem at odds, the holistic approach of ancient alchemy serves as a powerful reminder of the value of integrating these perspectives. Moreover, alchemy underscores the deep cultural exchange that shaped human history. The transmission of alchemical knowledge across civilizations through trade routes, translations, and shared ideas helped knit together the intellectual fabric of the ancient world. From the temples of Egypt to the laboratories of Islamic scholars, and later to the proto-scientists of Europe, alchemy's journey illustrates humanity's collaborative pursuit of knowledge, transcending borders, languages, and cultures. So, what can we learn from this reevaluation of ancient alchemy? First, it reminds us that innovation is a cumulative process that builds on curiosity, experimentation, and the exchange of ideas. Ancient alchemy, in its quest to decipher the mysteries of matter and transformation, laid the foundation for modern science. Second, it teaches us that even the most mystical or symbolic endeavors can hold kernels of truth that outlast the societies that created them. And finally, it offers a perspective on the importance of balancing the material and the spiritual, the practical and the philosophical, a balance that remains as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. Alchemy may not hold the literal keys to immortality or infinite wealth, but its legacy endures as a testament to human ingenuity and wonder. By revisiting its forgotten role in ancient civilizations, we gain not only a deeper understanding of the past, but also an appreciation for how those early inquiries continue to inspire our exploration of the universe and ourselves. It is a reminder that the true value of alchemy lies not in its results, but in the questions it dared to ask, the same questions we continue to pursue today. As we wrap up our journey through the forgotten role of alchemy in ancient empires, it's clear that this mysterious practice was far more than a fanciful pursuit of turning lead into gold. Alchemy was a cornerstone of scientific exploration, a guide to medicine, a reflection of profound philosophical ideas, and a deeply spiritual endeavor. Across civilizations, from the temples of Egypt and the palaces of China to the laboratories of Islamic scholars and the courts of European monarchs, alchemy shaped the way people understood the world and their place within it. It wasn't just a science, it was a way of thinking, a philosophy that embraced transformation, balance, and the interconnectedness of all things. Alchemy's influence spanned across disciplines. It paved the way for early advancements in chemistry, metallurgy, and pharmacology, laying the groundwork for modern science. Through its symbolic language and intricate processes, it wove together spiritual practices and empirical experimentation, bridging the physical with the metaphysical. In medicine, it inspired the search for remedies that would not only heal the body but purify and elevate the soul. Its principles of transformation resonated in philosophies about personal growth, reminding us that refinement isn't limited to materials. It applies to us as individuals and to societies as a whole. One of the most fascinating aspects of alchemy is the way it connected civilizations. As knowledge traveled along the Silk Road and other trade routes, alchemy became a shared thread that united vastly different cultures. The methods and philosophies of Egyptian, Greek, Indian, Chinese, and Persian alchemists blended and evolved, creating a universal language of transformation. Alchemy wasn't just a practice, it was a bridge, a testament to humanity's innate desire to seek, innovate, and understand. Even in its decline, alchemy continued to inspire, surviving through the Islamic Golden Age, Renaissance Europe, and into the scientific breakthroughs of the modern age. But for all its contributions, alchemy remains shrouded in mystery. Its cryptic symbols and veiled texts still spark debate among historians and seekers alike. Was it merely proto-chemistry, or did it hold deeper secrets about the universe and the human spirit? While modern science has unraveled many of its practical mysteries, the philosophical and spiritual questions alchemy posed about transformation, balance, and unity are as relevant today as ever. In an age where innovation and curiosity continue to drive human progress, alchemy stands as a reminder of the power of imagination and the courage to question what lies beneath the surface. So, what do you think about the hidden legacy of alchemy? Are there aspects of this ancient practice that resonate with you today, whether in science, philosophy, or personal transformation? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below and join the conversation. And if you're as intrigued by historical mysteries as we are, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on our next exploration into the past. Alchemy's story reminds us that history is never truly forgotten. It's waiting to be rediscovered, piece by piece, mystery by mystery. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.